Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, which is all around Pure as a Service. My name is Danielle Chapman. I work in the marketing team at Bytes, and today I'm really pleased to be joined by Max Brown, Channel Technical Manager at Pure Storage, and Anthony Sandor, who is one of our Bytes data center specialists. So with that, I'm just going to pass over to Anthony, who's just going to go through the agenda and provide a little bit of an intro.
Thank you. So I'm Tony, I'm a data center pre-sales specialist at Bytes and a member of the data center team. We've got a very loose agenda today, so it's an overview of the offering of Pure as a service, along with the benefits and a Q&A session. The Bytes data center team help our customers embrace new technologies and ways of working to drive innovation in the data center. This relies upon two key principles: close engagement with our customers and strategic relationships with our partners. Our agnostic and consultative approach allows us to examine our customers' requirements, workload placement and strategy, which is performed via our free data center advisory service. Bytes will work with you to understand your current environment and to design a roadmap for the ideal modern data center for you. We will help you identify which workloads are within scope for migration and explore the capabilities, benefits and limitations of various solutions. As an elite tier partner, Bytes' relationship with Pure Storage is a key strategic partnership, and as demonstrated in the recently released 2020 Gartner Magic Quadrant for primary storage arrays, they are the leader in this field. I'm pleased to introduce Max from Pure Storage to present today's topic, Pure as a Service, making storage simple.
Okay, so Pure as a Service, let's just have a bit of an introduction to the world of as a service as we see it today. And I think, many customers, they do want flexible consumption. I think most customers are looking at things as a service, right? And the whole world has gone as a service, pretty much, whether it's Netflix or whatever you're looking at, people are looking at as a service, but that doesn't mean it's always the right thing to do, right? So, consumption models do give you a clear alignment to outcomes. In other words, you know exactly how much it's going to cost you to do more of the same thing. And as IDC predict that 50% of data center infrastructure will be consumed or operated as a service by 2024. And when we say as a service, that doesn't mean put it in the cloud. It could be doing exactly what you do today with on-premise hardware, but instead of paying for it as a CapEx, you consume it as an OpEx model, basically as a service model. And the cloud models are leading the way. People want the best of both worlds. They want cloud models, but maybe not necessarily in the cloud. So what is it you get from the cloud as a customer? You get self-service. You click a few buttons, things happen. You want more of the same, it just appears. Policy-based management, so you don't have to worry about working out what data should sit where. It can all kind of happen in the background. The systems can make lots of real-time decisions for you. And then cloud operations. You want that consistency. If I'm doing something on premise or I'm doing it in the cloud, it's the same thing. It's not a completely different methodology with different scripts or programming languages. It stays the same. Cloud economics, I think this is a fairly simple one. You pay for what you use. It's on demand. You pay for it when you need it. And there are a few very simple service tiers behind that, fast, medium, slow, whatever you want. And then true OpEx model. So this is one of the whole points around the cloud economics, is that it's not CapEx, this is OpEx, which fundamentally can change a way that a company reports its revenues and a way that the company is valued by the stock market. And then cloud operations. You don't really want to be worrying too much about installation, or how about upgrading the code on the array, or having to add new capacity, or having to do an RFP because I've run out of space, or what about alerts? Do I need to have people in a NOC looking at the Pure arrays 24/7, watching if something goes red? This is, with the cloud, you don't worry about that, but we can bring that to you on premise as well. This is a quick overview of the Pure products that we do offer as a service. So just in case you're not aware of what we actually offer. So the Flash Array is our main flagship product, and they come in two flavors, the X and the C. So the Flash Array is basically a block-based storage device. It's the kind of thing that people would run VMware on, Hyper-V, SQL, Oracle, SAP, those kind of environments, your tier 1 and tier 2 critical applications and databases. We also have Cloud Block Store, which is a software version of the FlashArray, but it runs in AWS and very soon Azure. On the other side, there's FlashBlade, which is our fast file and object storage, which does S3, NFS, SMB, etc. And that's designed for the world of big and fast data. So things like real-time analytics, it could be things like Splunk or Elasticsearch or AI workloads or DevOps type workloads. But this is our product portfolio. Unlike many other vendors, we don't have hundreds of different products that overlap. It's pretty clear exactly what we do. And Pure have always built the business around the mantra of effortless, efficient, and evergreen. So by effortless, what we mean is it's really easy to use. And I'm sure every vendor says this, but we don't really have end user training courses, because we said if we do need to design a training course, then we've done the product wrong. It's efficient, it just works. You don't need to worry about it. There's no knobs and dials and tweaking and tuning that you need to do. It just runs. And from an evergreen perspective, we kind of changed the whole landscape of storage with evergreen when we introduced this about 6 or 7 years ago. The evergreen model is very simply the fact that when you buy a Pure array, you never need to buy another one to replace the one you've just bought. Now, if you've ever bought any hardware ever, whether it's a laptop, a switch, a server, even somebody else's storage, I guarantee that at some point in time, that piece of hardware has got old, you've bought a new one to replace the old one, and you've disposed of the old one, which is just a waste of money. You're rebuying something you already had. That's not the model that we do at Pure. You would never have to do that. So let's just dig a bit into Pure as a service. So we offer the storage as a service, and it can be on-prem. So it could be physical arrays that go into your data center or your colo, offering block storage, file storage, object storage. It could be offering the same service, but in the cloud. If you're in AWS or Azure, you can still have a Pure array, but it runs as a software appliance, not a physical appliance in the cloud. And then there's the hybrid. So we do a unified subscription model. So you don't have to have separate contracts because I'm running Pure in the cloud, and a separate contract for running Pure on premise. And what's unique about Pure as a service, because we know that every vendor is doing some kind of as a service type model, but you need to scratch under the covers to see exactly what they're doing. So it is a true subscription model. It should be recognized as OPEX by any auditor. The evergreen technology that we have means that you're not going to suddenly get a vendor say, right, we need to put in a different array because the one you've had for the last 3 years is now end of life, and you need to do a huge forklift upgrade, migrate your data to the new array, and learn a whole new set of processes and procedures. With Pure, once a Pure array is in your data center or wherever you might want to host it, you never need to do a forklift upgrade to a newer model. We have some very intelligent technology, which means we can actually do a data in place upgrade so that you will never do a data migration or a forklift upgrade ever again. Customer experience from something called Pure One. This is our phone home technology, and also it's used for customers' own analytics and monitoring and reporting of the arrays. So we know what customers' arrays are doing, and from that we can predict what they might do. So with this, we can predict should there be any issues or something that might need investigating. So we don't let customers fail. In other words, from a support perspective, don't call us, we'll call you. And everything is fully API managed. So whether you want to use a PowerShell script or Python or Ansible or any one of the tools that are available, and it's full REST API capable, then from your orchestration capabilities, you can use whatever languages you would like. Some of the cloud economics. So Pure were pretty much one of the first, if not the first, all-flash vendor back in 2012, 2013 that produced arrays that only had solid-state drives in them. They only had SSDs, and we've moved way beyond SSDs now to our own direct flash modules, but we've never used spinning disk. Back in the early days, the other major vendors said we were mad to do all flash, and now you move forwards, and this is where we are. What does solid state give you? Less power, more cooling, less weight, less data center footprint. We regularly go into customers that have legacy storage, and we replace 2 or 3 racks of traditional storage with probably 3 to 6 rack U of Pure Storage today. From an optimization perspective, we've always done data reduction, deduplication, compression, thin provisioning. What does this mean to customers? It means that it takes up less space, you need less storage. It's just an efficiency method. Evergreen, which I mentioned before, so non-disruptive generational upgrades. You know, you're looking at 10 years plus on existing systems. We never release a product that means the old product is no longer useful. We always have a path to upgrade a customer from what they have today to the next iteration of technology moving forward. And it's a non-disruptive data in place upgrade. It's not a migration to a new platform. And it's simple, right? Cloud economics. It's just got to be really easy to use. Click a few buttons, your servers have the storage, click another 2 buttons, and you have disaster recovery and business continuity. The support subscription, again, from a support perspective, it's about proactive support. It's about predictive support. We don't want customers. In fact, we don't have customers that phone us saying something's gone wrong. We can predict that something may go wrong or something looks strange, and we can investigate that. Prevention is always better than cure. In other words, don't call us. As I said, we'll call you. So if we look at how cloud subscription or storage subscription models tend to work, you end up paying for things that you don't use, which sounds crazy, but this is the way it works. If you go into generally any hyperscaler or cloud provider storage model and you say, right, I have 10 servers and each server can have 1 terabyte of storage, the minute you hit finish, then you will be charged for 10 terabytes of storage before you've even written any data. So you're actually wasting money the minute you hit continue. So you are paying for something that you're not using. So with Pure, you pay for what you use. So whether you provision 10 terabytes, 100 terabytes, 100 gigabytes, it's irrelevant. You pay for what you actually use. And this is all because this is something that storage arrays have done for years within provisioning, but the cloud didn't really adopt that model. So don't pay for what you provision. In other words, what the host can see as available. Pay for what you actually use. Pay for what the host is actually writing and actually using. So let's dig a little bit more into how this usage model works. So you would pay for on-demand usage, which is a standard rate. I'm going to use some simple maths in this example. Let's say you're paying 15 pence per gigabyte per month for your on-demand. We measure your rate 3 times daily, we accrue it, and then we bill you quarterly or monthly in arrears, depending on whatever contract ourselves or the partners sign with you. And we also maintain 25% headroom at any point in time in case you get some kind of crazy workload or a mad spike, which means you could suddenly not actually have enough physical capacity. So we always make sure there's 25%. But then what we bring into the model is a reserved rate, a reserved capacity. So now, if you think, the easiest way to think of this is like the old mobile phone contracts, where you had something like 500 minutes and 500 texts for £20 a month. If you stayed within your 500 minutes and text, you just paid £20 a month. As soon as you went over your 500 minutes or you did text number 501, there was an additional incremental cost for those extra minutes or extra texts. And that's exactly what's represented here. So now the reserved capacity, what you commit to, is at a discounted rate. So that would be more like 10 pence per gigabyte per month. So if you look at the kind of purple area, that's your 10 pence per gigabyte per month. And the kind of pink orangey area is 15 pence per gigabyte per month. So in other words, what you do is you raise your reserve at any time, and generally people might look at this on a monthly basis or maybe 6 monthly or whatever. But as soon as they see that their capacity is growing and they don't want to pay a lot of money, in other words, they don't want to be paying lots at 15 pence per gigabyte per month, they just raise their reserve, they raise their commit. And you can raise this at any point in time. A bit like you could with a mobile phone contract. You might say, actually, I'm doing more than 500 minutes. Can I raise it to 700 minutes? And then if you needed to drop back down, the only time you can do that is actually at the end of the contract. But with this, we build this in advance. So this is a commitment that you make. So if you said, I'm going to commit to 100 terabytes over 24 months, then you would, we'd get a purchase order for that amount up front, but we could actually still bill you quarterly or monthly. We don't need to bill for the entire amount up front. We do have a promotion going on at the moment. So if you listen to this on recording, just check that the promotion is still available. But what we're doing for a 50 terabyte, 1 year commitment, the first 3 months are free. You pay nothing until after month 3. If you commit to 100 terabytes over a 2-year period, your first 6 months are free. So in other words, with the first promotion, you're getting 12 months for the price of 9, and you don't pay any money until after month 3. So this gives you a very, very easy way to get on board with Pure. Now, we can actually get the kit delivered and installed within 5 to 10 working days. You don't pay a penny for 3 months. From the Pure One service console, this is where you would log in and change your subscriptions, because you may need to add more capacity. You actually might want to do something for a different site. You might want a different type of storage, whatever it is. You just move the sliders to whatever you want, hit submit, and then we'll get back to you as soon as possible to actually make sure we get the request right and we get the right requirements for you. Again, another quick screenshot, so you can easily see all of your subscriptions in one place in terms of, what type of service level are you using, how much capacity is being consumed, when the renewal date is, etc. Now, there was a change in the regulations about 2 years ago, where it changed what happened from a financial reporting perspective. So a couple of years ago, if you were leasing hardware, it appeared on your balance sheet as an OPEX model. However, now all leases are classed as CAPEX, which can fundamentally change the valuation of your company and the assets that you actually have. A lease was not classed as your asset. A lease is now classed as your asset. So that can be a problem. There have been also many other issues around, if you were doing a lease, it was a long-term commitment. It was, usually about, 2 to 3 years. There was also the issue, as I mentioned, that the storage would be an identifiable asset, which would increase the value, which would increase the cost of your company, or the valuation. So again, it was things you couldn't offset. With OPEX, you can kind of offset things. So if we look at a lease-based utility, it is a kind of a black box structure. You don't really see what you're getting. It's just a box that you've got and you pay money for it. Pure as a service is very transparent. You can see exactly how much you're paying. You can work out exactly how much you will pay. It's very clear price we got. The usage metering is very easy to follow. With Pure as a service, we don't have a separate finance company that sorts this out, because this is not a financing model. This is offered directly to customers by Pure and the partner. So this is a partner-led approach. The life cycle of this, again, with Pure as a service, or with all Pure products, you don't get to a point where a specific piece of hardware has a life cycle and then needs replacing, and then you've got to do a migration to the new piece of hardware or a forklift upgrade. With Pure, if we come out with a new version of that array and we need to move you to it, then it's a data in place upgrade with no impact on your applications or production environment. Exactly the same as what you get in the cloud. You don't know when Amazon or Microsoft Azure are changing hardware in the background, because your service stays up. It's exactly the same that we can do with our technology. It's very much an evergreen, non-disruptive approach. And as I mentioned, we have very, very short terms, a very low barrier to entry, which is 50 terabytes and 12 months, whereas a lot of leases tend to be a lot longer time frames. So it's very easy to start small and grow over time. So there's a few new things for Pure as a service. We've had Pure as a service out for a few years. Initially, it was launched just at service providers. Now it's generally available to all customers. And we've now introduced a new kind of service catalog. So to give you an idea of what we got, and these are our manufacturer's prices. I believe they're on the website, but I need to double check that. But to give you an idea of the prices, they start pretty low. So we've got the Flasher AC. So the Flasher AC is based on QLC flash. So without getting into technical depth, it's basically cheaper but slower flash. The Flasher AX has been our kind of a mainstay that we've been selling for at least 6 or 7 years now. This is the one that you would use for your traditional all flash performance. And you can see it comes in performance, premium, and ultra models. The minimum commitment for the Flasher AX, you can see, is 50 terabytes. For the Flasher AC, which is a much, much bigger and denser model, it's a 200 terabyte commitment. But even then, if you look at the minimum commitment with the Flasher AX, which is 50 terabytes, and it's 7 cents per gigabyte per month, then that's a very, very cheap model to get you on the ground, to get you up and running. We also have FlashBlade. So if you're looking at unified fast file and object, for things like maybe you want to do things like rapid restore using Commvault, Veeam, Cohesity, the usual kind of suspects. Maybe it's for an S3 enabled application. You've got applications that talk S3 protocol and need to be fast. FlashBlade's the prime example for that. But for most customers, generally what they're looking at is FlashArray for things like VDI, for VMs, for SQL, Oracle, for in-memory databases. So for your production databases or production container workloads. If you need more details around what we mean by ultra premium performance and capacity, you can see the specifications here in terms of performance and how we gauge what model we would actually put on site as a service. Again, there's a little URL down there, so you can go to the link and get more details around all of these and what exactly we mean by those specific performance numbers. So from a cloud operations perspective, again, and when we say cloud, I don't just mean the public cloud. We're talking about your own private cloud, your on-premise cloud, or whatever you've got in a colo. So it is a typical Pure solution, but in a pay-as-you-go or pay-as-you-grow model. So it is about simplifying your infrastructure. You know, we can support the same infrastructure concepts as you would with a CapEx product, because the underlying hardware is the same. So whether you're running containers or you're doing converged infrastructure, whether you're doing DevOps, VDI, whatever it is, it's aligning costs for your applications. So if you know that you're paying 7 cents, which is about 5 pence per gigabyte per month, and you need another 50 terabytes, you know what that's going to cost, right? You don't need to suddenly say, right, I need to do an RFP, I need to do a new array, I need to do lots of sizing. You can just add on to what you've got. One click of the button in the service console, and then we'll instantly get back to you with some quotes, and then make sure you have whatever capacity you need on site in case you need any extra. And it is very elastic, right? So, you know, we can introduce into this business continuity. We could use a FlashBlade for data protection. We can also do ransomware mitigation, which again is another feature that we've got in FlashArray and FlashBlade, which I won't go into now. But again, it's a very easy option for you to move between different products or to change your service levels. There's less IT staff workload. So when we do the installation, it takes one of our guys just a few hours to go on site to get this installed. We can also do remote installation, which obviously with COVID, there's been a lot of data centers that aren't allowing access to multiple staff to go in. We can do remote installs very easily. Our delivery timelines have always been about 5 to 10 working days compared to some other vendors where I've seen customers wait up to 6 weeks for an array, which isn't good in these times. From a management perspective, Pure manage, I would say, the physicality of the array. So you as an end user, you would still connect to the array, you'd set up disaster recovery, you'd configure it to talk to SQL or Oracle or VMware, you'd provision the storage. But in terms of things like adding extra capacity, that's down to Pure. Doing things like software upgrades. So it could be the version of code you're running has a bug that might potentially affect you. We would contact you and say, we're going to upgrade the code on this array. Please let us know when it would be a suitable time. Or it could be we get to the point where we say, you've had this array for 3 or 4 years. We've now got a new version of the array controllers, and we think it would be suitable to upgrade you. And then again, we'd organize that with yourselves in terms of change control and access to the data center. But in terms of impact to your running applications, zero. Right? This is the whole non-disruptive upgrade of Pure's technology. And from an operations perspective, you know, alerts and notifications you would get as a standard end user. Obviously, all alerts and notifications go to Pure support. So if we see anything that looks a bit strange, we can investigate it immediately and therefore, you know, prevent anything before it becomes an issue. Rate of change tracking is very easy to follow, and we would be tracking that as well to make sure that we always maintain 25% headroom in case you did get any you know, strange workloads that suddenly spiked your capacity usage. So it is a very flexible choice of how you can run this, whether you want it on premises in your data center, whether you want to run it in a hosted colo. And again, these would be physical arrays and you're paying your 7 cents per gigabyte per month, or run it in the public cloud. And again, it would be the same cost. So we can do one unified subscription model across all of these. And then, of course, if you want to add in disaster recovery or business continuity features, you can add these in. So again, one of the things with Pure is if you buy a physical array, traditional CapEx model, all of the software is included, even things like you know, disaster recovery, business continuity, clustering, that's included. So then if you go down the as a service model, we don't suddenly say, right, you've paid 7 cents per gigabyte per month for the array, and now that you want to do disaster recovery, that's another 2 cents per gigabyte per month. There's no add-ons. You just pay for the capacity and that's it. So then if you started off with one array in your data center and then said, I now want to do business continuity. Now, you may not want to do business continuity for all of your data. So this means you could have a smaller Pure as a Service contract in a colo somewhere, and then you can use Active Cluster or async replication to do the DR and business continuity between the two sites. And you're just paying your subscription, 7 cents per gigabyte per month for both of those sites. You could even do a hybrid connection because you may run Cloud Block Store, which is our product that runs in AWS and Azure shortly. So you could use a hybrid connection to that as well. So you could also be running Pure in the cloud at the same cost. Now, we do have some customers that say, well, how can I bought a Pure Array 2 years ago, and I now think it makes sense to switch to an OpEx model. Or it might be the other way around, you want to go from OpEx to CapEx. Again, this is all easily done. It's very flexible. The way we'd do this technically is you have your existing array. We would then bring in a second array. Excuse me. We use Active Cluster to cluster the two arrays together. We would migrate the volumes non-disruptively from one to the other, and then we remove the original asset. So again, this is very simple to do. It has no impact on your applications, absolutely no downtime. And although it may look like a forklift upgrade, it isn't. There is no data migration. Active Cluster would just synchronize the data and makes it very easy for us to swap the assets around and then swap you from a CapEx model to an OpEx model and vice versa. In conjunction with Cisco, we now offer FlashStack as a service. So FlashStack is our converged infrastructure offering that is a partner-led solution. So it's obviously Pure and Cisco, but it's delivered, implemented, installed, etc. through partners. So with this, we can, in conjunction with Cisco, provide an as-a-service model and pay-as-you-go pricing for the entire stack. So from a cloud customer experience perspective, again, let's simplify your infrastructure. It's a very low barrier to entry. Start small, grow over time, no huge commitments. As we said, 50 terabytes, 12 months. I think that's probably one of the lowest commitments I've seen in the industry. The on-demand usage, you just pay as and when you need that. And hopefully you're not paying a lot of on-demand because you can raise your reserve at any point in time. And there's nothing that you own, and there's nothing that you need to manage from a physical perspective. So instead of doing RFPs for extra capacity or new arrays, you just click a button in your service console and then you get a quote, and more storage can be added as and when necessary. It is consumption based. There are no assets on your balance sheet, and they are, as I mentioned, very short-term contracts. So what you're buying here, with the business outcomes, you're buying SLAs, you're not buying hardware, you're buying a service. That is the whole point of doing something as a service. This isn't buying an X10 or an X20 as a service, it's buying what you need. I need X amount of capacity with X amount of performance, and that will cost you a certain amount per gigabyte per month. And we have certain SLAs around that. So if we miss some SLAs, you get 10% back or 25% or 50%. I think if we get to 99.99% availability in 1 month, which is bad, then you don't pay anything for the next month. But given that FlashArray itself has a proven 6 nines availability, then you don't really need to worry about outages or downtime. So purchase versus subscription. One of the things I often get asked is, well, is it cheaper to do as a service or is it cheaper to buy the array? And unfortunately, the answer is it depends. One way to look at this is over a 3-year period. Let's say, if you cost them on paper, you might say, well, actually over 3 years, it looks cheaper to buy an array rather than do as a service. The big thing you need to think about is, let's say you bought an array, 100 terabytes usable, but at the end of 3 years, you use 70% of the capacity. Actually, what that means is 30% was wasted money. So if I do simple maths again, let's say you paid £100,000 for an array. At the end of 3 years, you've wasted 30,000. In actual fact, if you look at the maths, it may have worked out cheaper to do Pure as a service. We have had many very large customers that have been buying Pure arrays for the last 5 to 6 years that have now swapped a lot of their arrays from a physical CapEx model to an as a service model, because after 3 years, and sometimes this is the way banks work, they do kind of buy more than what they think they need. And actually that would have been easier to consume that as a service. So again, there's no right or wrong answer, but it's worth looking at the costings. If you know that over 3 years, I'm going to use 90 to 95% of what I'm buying, might be cheaper to buy one. However, if you're not too sure how your business is going to grow, as a service could make a huge difference and might be more cost effective. So I have had a look at the other offerings in the market from all the usual suspects that are out there. And, you know, some of them have minimum terms, which are 3 years, which is a very, very large commitment to make. And especially in, you know, these days of COVID, customers don't always want to be making that kind of commitment. So with Pure, minimum commitment is 1 year. And in fact, with our current offering, depending on what you commit to, you may not be paying any money to Pure for the first 3 or 6 months. Minimum capacities, most of the others start at 100. I've seen some that want 250 terabytes minimum commitment. I've seen some that want a $250,000 deal commitment. Pure as a service, 50 terabytes. You know, it's exceedingly small. And the agreement, you know, again, a lot of other vendors are doing, it's actually a lease or it's some kind of a statement of works. With us, it's a standard program. It's, you know, it's not a financing agreement. It's not a leasing agreement. It does qualify as OPEX for the simple reason that the Pure as a service product, whether it's in the cloud or whether it's a physical array in your data center or colo, is a 100% pure asset. It is never identified as an asset from the customer perspective. So generally speaking, all auditors should see Pure as a service as 100% OPEX model. So kind of coming up to the end of the time, just want to finish off with this last slide. So just as a reminder, that little triangle of what the products are that Pure provide. So you can choose from whether you want block storage, which is generally what most people are looking at, you know, your VMs, your databases, your tier 1 critical workloads, maybe your test and dev workloads as well. You know, and it's very effortless, it's extremely easy to use. So you're going to get not only the cloud consumption models, but that cloud-like usage in terms of how easy is this to use, how easy is it to provision storage, set up snapshots, do replication, etc. And it's a true OPEX. It is true storage as a service. But you're getting that flash performance, that sub-millisecond latency, hundreds of thousands of IOPS, and it is fully scalable. We'll make sure that you've always got the headroom in there. The evergreen architecture means that if we come out with the flash array Y or the flash array Z or whatever we think of next, it's not going to be a forklift upgrade. It would never be disruptive to your business. And lastly, as I've said enough times on this, extremely short-term commitments with a very low barrier to entry, all coupled with our 6 nines availability and reliability. So that was it there. I'm not sure if there have been any questions come in. I'll have a quick look at their chat, see if there's anything. I think we're good for the moment.
Thank you, Max. Yeah, we've had a couple come through actually. Let me just get those and read them out for you. So when is the Cloud Block Store for Azure due to be available?
That is coming in January next year. So within the next, I would say 6 weeks.
Brilliant, so not too long to wait. If this is now the alternative to leasing, are there any credit checks or financial requirements that need to be met prior to starting the service?
Yes, I mean, as with anything that we set up with customers, the credit checks are generally done more from the partner perspective. So in terms of the product flow from Pure, so Pure go through a distributor, which then goes through to the partner. So, you know, credit checks are kind of generally done by the distributor and the partner. But you know, it's kind of the standard path of the course.
Brilliant, thank you. And I don't think we've had any more come through, but just to say, everyone, you can ask those in the Q&A session at the end. Sorry, the survey at the end, or you can just pop those over to tellmemore@bytes.co.uk, and we'll make sure that that gets answered for you. So I think we'll wrap it up there then, guys. I hope you've enjoyed today's session, and thank you once again to Max and Tony for presenting today. So thank you everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.